Lila, a 18-year-old girl, decided to bet everything on a challenge that most people thought was impossible. In the cramped room of her home, surrounded by piles of scrap and broken electronic parts, she created a machine that could change the community. It wasn't just a simple project, it was an opportunity to prove to the world that no matter where you come from, you can still make a difference. When one of the most powerful figures in the tech industry, Elon Musk, directly issued the challenge, "Show me something impressive," Lila didn't hesitate to accept. But with limited tools and a massive workload, could this young girl complete her dream? The answer would be revealed in a journey full of challenges, where Lila would not only face doubt from others but also her own self-doubt. This story promises to bring something extremely exciting. Let's begin now. The lights from the stage at the Innovation Summit Center shone brightly, reflecting off Elon Musk's face as he stood among the crowd, holding a microphone, sharing the promising progress of Tesla. Every word he spoke captured the intense attention of engineers, investors, and fans in the room. They sat in silence, eyes lighting up with every new piece of information Elon revealed. Each time he shared breakthroughs in self-driving technology and artificial intelligence, the entire hall erupted in applause. When the speech concluded, Elon took a step back, his gaze smiling yet sharp. He put the microphone down, extended his hand toward the audience, and said in a calm yet captivating voice, "So, who has any questions?" A moment of silence engulfed the room, as if the air had frozen. The people present looked at one another, waiting for someone to be the first to speak. Every eye was on a small group, people raising their hands, hoping to be chosen by Elon. Suddenly, from across the room, a young girl stood up. She was unlike anyone in the crowd. Instead of a sleek suit or a tech-heavy t-shirt, she wore a simple shirt and jeans, holding a well-worn notebook in her hand. A wave of quiet spread through the crowd as they realized the girl was preparing to speak. She spoke, her voice steady even though her eyes reflected deep thoughts. "Hello, Mr. Musk? I'm Lila, 18 years old, from a small town. I've built a robot in my workshop from old parts one gathered. I don't have a university degree. I haven't been to specialized schools. But I'd like to ask you, would Tesla give me a chance to contribute?" The entire hall fell silent, a question no one dared to think about, and even fewer could dare to ask. The crowd whispered softly, their eyes glancing at each other, a half-smile full of doubt. A girl with no degree, no experience, standing up and asking for an opportunity from the founder of Tesla. It was hard to believe. Elon Musk raised an eyebrow, clearly unable to take his eyes off this girl. After a moment of silence, he asked, his voice gentle yet full of curiosity, "A robot? Huh? So, what can it do?" Lila smiled softly, her eyes lighting up as if revealing a precious secret. "Right now, it can pick up trash and perform basic tasks. But I believe that with enough time and resources, I can develop it further, make it capable of doing greater things." Whispers began to ripple through the room, but there was still an underlying sense of anticipation, an indescribable waiting. Some might have thought Elon would smile and move on. Others might have expected him to be polite and gently decline. But no, Elon Musk was not one to be easily persuaded. He leaned forward, his gaze sharp, his voice low and laced with challenge. "You say you built it in your workshop?" Lila nodded, without hesitation. Her hair shifted slightly in the tense air. Elon paused for a moment, as if considering carefully. Then he spoke, his voice still calm but filled with intrigue. "Well then, here's the deal. If you can prove that your robot isn't just a toy, but can solve a real problem and make me amazed, I'll give you a chance to work at Tesla." The room seemed to hold its breath. No one expected someone like Elon Musk to make such a challenge. Lila's face lit up, Her faith reignited. She took a deep breath and spoke with certainty. "Challenge accepted, Mr. Musk?" The whispers resumed. And this time, there was clear surprise. The people around her looked at the young girl, some with respect, others still unsure, not believing their eyes. Everyone waited to see what would happen next in this story. One thing was clear: this journey would not end with these few moments, but would open a new chapter in Lila's life, and the world would soon marvel at what she could achieve. Lila returned from the event, her heart full of indescribable emotions. And her heart still raced whenever she remembered the moment Elon Musk issued the challenge. It wasn't just a simple invitation, it was the only chance for her to prove that dreams could come true, no matter where they started. She stood at the door of her small house, looking out, where the afternoon sun filtered through the tall trees. And she clearly felt one thing: her life would never be the same again. Lila's house, modestly tucked away on a quiet street in Sunset Town, was never a place of luxury, but it gave her the peace she needed. The old cottage, with its walls tinged with the color of time, always felt warm even during harsh winters. In the workshop behind, where she spent her life chasing her passion, the dim light of a fluorescent bulb illuminated the workbench covered in dust and electronic scraps. The outdated tools, the worn-out coils, the scattered small components, all were vivid evidence of her relentless creative process. While it wasn't a luxurious space, to Lila, it was the heart of all her creations and hopes. In the corner of the room, Recycler, the robot Lila had poured her heart and soul into, sat silently. She looked at it. The worn-out parts, the unfinished connections, all still far from reaching the level that Elon Musk expected. But in her heart, it symbolized everything she had worked for and was working on. It might not be perfect enough to impress Elon, but to Lila, it was a powerful starting point. How do I make it something that Elon can't take his eyes off of? She wondered. That question overwhelmed Lila. But not for a moment did she think about giving up. Because the challenge Elon had given her was the opportunity she had been waiting for all these years. Coming from a family with modest means, where her father, David, was a taxi driver and her mother, Miriam, was a nurse, Lila had never studied in prestigious schools or had access to modern tools. But she didn't let that stop her passion. Since she was young, she had taught herself through online videos, from free lectures to tech forums. Even though the people around her mocked her, saying she was wasting her time, she remained unmoved. No one understands me, she thought to herself. But then she would remember the big dream she had always held close. And Elon Musk was the one who would prove that those dreams weren't futile. Elon had made a promise, 30 days to upgrade Recycler and make it something that would make him reconsider. But Lila knew that wouldn't be easy. Not only did she need high-quality parts, she needed to solve a real-world problem in the community. She began to think about how to make Recycler not just a piece of technology, but a useful tool that could genuinely change the lives of those around her. After several nights of contemplation, Lila decided she would create a robot that could help sort and recycle waste. Waste management was a serious issue in Sunset Town, where trash often overflowed the streets because people didn't know how to sort it. If Recycler could solve this problem, it wouldn't just attract Elon's attention, but it would also bring real change to her community. Work began immediately. Each day, Lila spent all day in the workshop, sleepless nights passing in a haze of experiments. She didn't have the money to buy expensive parts, so she turned to scrap yards. Sometimes she came back empty-handed, but other times she found old motors, imperfect sensors, but enough to bring her closer to her goal. Each piece was an opportunity, each failure a lesson. The work became more difficult as Lila not only had to handle the old parts, but also learned complex programming skills to make Recycler smarter. Long nights watching tutorial videos, Moments of standing frozen in front of the screen when the code wouldn't run made her sometimes feel desperate. But each time, she remembered Elon's words. Show me something special. That was the only motivation that kept her going, refusing to let herself fall to the difficulties. With unwavering determination, Lila wouldn't allow herself to stop. She wasn't just going to create a smart robot, she would make it a tool that could change the world around her. She believed that Elon Musk was right in choosing her, and she wouldn't disappoint him. She would turn every dream into reality, no matter how tough the journey was. Day by day, Lila plunged deeper into her work in the workshop, to the point where the people in the neighborhood began to notice. They started talking, not with admiration, but with mocking laughter. You think Elon Musk is going to pay attention to a kid like you? One person said, his voice thick, as if emphasizing the doubt. A friend, Tom, someone she had shared many joys and sorrows with since childhood, leaned in and shook his head. Why don't you try finding a proper job in this town? Robots can't replace people. Those words were like small stones falling into her heart, but they couldn't shatter the unwavering belief inside her. One afternoon, as she struggled with a broken part of recycler, an older man, his face marked with the traces of time, knocked on the workshop door. He introduced himself as Mr. Roberts, a retired engineer. I heard you're working on quite an interesting project, he said in a warm but decisive voice. Do you need any help? Lila paused for a moment, a little hesitant, then began to share the difficulties she was facing. She never expected that this man would not only immediately grasp the problem but also come up with incredibly precise solutions. He showed her how to adjust recycler's motor, pointed out the coding errors she had missed. With his help, recycler gradually began to take shape, still unfinished, but clearly with potential. She worked harder than ever, as if there were an unquenchable flame in her heart. Every night, Lila immersed herself in the work, losing track of time, with only the sounds of tools and the hum of the motor to keep her company. With only 3 days left, Recycler was able to sort waste into categories: recyclable, non-recyclable, and organic waste. In a successful test, it wasn't just functioning, it was efficient enough to make her stop and look. Elon Musk, you'll have to see this, she told herself, her eyes sparkling with fierce belief. But deep inside, she still felt a sense of worry. Would Recycler pass the most important test? Would it operate perfectly in front of Elon and the Tesla team? The presentation day was approaching, and Lila stood in her workshop, looking at Recycler. While it had made significant progress, she knew that its appearance was just the surface. The most important thing was its ability to operate smoothly. After countless sleepless nights, Recycler could now sort 3 types of waste: recyclable, non-recyclable, and organic waste. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough to prove that this technology could bring about real change. She looked at her creation, her heart full of pride. You'll make them amazed, she whispered. But no matter what, the worry still lingered in her mind. What if it breaks down right in front of Elon? She wondered, her heart racing. But she wouldn't let fear control her. She would push through because she knew that if she didn't try, she would never know. In the final 2 days, Lila gave everything she had to prepare for the presentation. Every time she practiced, she reminded herself that she had to explain clearly and confidently so the audience would understand Recycler's purpose. Her family had acted as imaginary spectators, creating a practice space for her. Miriam, her mother, with her gentle yet encouraging gaze, placed a hand on Lila's shoulder and said, "You've done everything you can, Lila. No matter what happens, we are here and proud of you." As the presentation day approached, Lila knew that everything she had done was wrapped up in this moment. She had overcome every challenge, and no matter the outcome, she would stand strong, never turning back. That morning, as Lila stood in front of the neat box, she quietly checked every detail of Recycler, her hand gently patting its surface as if ensuring that everything was ready for this important moment. Her outfit for the day, a simple white shirt and sleek black pants, wasn't meant to impress, but to make her feel as confident as possible. She didn't want just herself, but also the robot, to stand out. As she stepped outside, she noticed her neighbors had gathered at the end of the street. Some eyes looked at her with admiration, but many others with doubt. A woman standing nearby whispered, "Do you think she can do it?" She didn't say anything, only smiled softly and continued walking, her steps growing more confident because she knew she was ready. When Lila arrived at the Tech Innovators arena, where the event was held, she felt like a grain of sand in an ocean. The engineers, executives, and media team around her exuded professionalism and confidence. She felt as though she was facing a challenge too great. But she wouldn't allow herself to feel small. She sighed, took a deep breath, and lifted her head high. As she stepped onto the stage, Elon Musk's gaze was fixed on her, not leaving. He sat in the front row, while others also watched intently, every eye seemingly evaluating each of her movements. Lila felt as if she was standing in the middle of an interrogation. But instead of feeling scared, she felt that she had to do this not just for herself, but for all those who had doubted her. "Hello, everyone," Lila began, her voice strong and unwavering. 3 weeks ago, I stood here and shared with Mr. Musk that I had built a robot in my own workshop. He challenged me to make it solve a real problem. Today, I'm here to show you what I've done." She gently placed Recycler on the showcase platform. The sighs and expectant gazes from the audience only made her more determined. She prepared a small pile of waste, including plastic bottles, scrap paper, and food scraps. Recycler began to work. The mechanical arms slowly swept through, sorting the materials with precision. It wasn't fast, but every movement was perfect. She didn't need to do anything more. It was doing the job right. When Recycler finished its task, applause erupted. Lila felt a sense of relief. But when she looked back at Elon Musk, he was staring at her, his eyes sharp and full of expectation. She hadn't even had time to enjoy her success when suddenly, Recycler emitted a strange sound and stood still. The entire auditorium went silent, a tense atmosphere spreading. Lila felt sweat pouring down, but she didn't let herself panic. She quickly walked toward Recycler and removed the protective casing. Her heart pounded as she realized the problem. One of the motors had overloaded and stopped working. She heard murmurs from the audience. "She can only go this far." Elon Musk stood up, his sharp gaze never leaving her. Lila's heart seemed to stop. But he simply asked one short question. "Do you know the cause?" Lila looked straight at him and nodded. "It's the motor. It's overloaded." Elon showed no sign of disappointment. He handed her a simple tool from the table. "Fix it," he said, without any hint of doubt in his voice. At that moment, Lila felt as though the entire world was weighing down on her shoulders. There was no time to fear, only the need to focus completely. She removed the faulty motor and replaced it with a new one she had prepared earlier. Sweat soaked her forehead, but each of her movements was strong and precise. After 10 minutes, which felt like an eternity, she stepped back and pressed the start button. Recycler started up again, faster and more efficient than ever before. In an instant, it had completed the sorting task at an unprecedented speed. Lila looked up at the audience, and this time, the room erupted in applause. The feeling of freedom and victorious relief made her smile. Elon stood up, applauding, and said, "This is what I wanted to see. A person who never gives up when faced with a challenge." He walked onto the stage, stood beside her, and said, "Lila, you've done the unexpected. You've shown that innovation doesn't always come from large laboratories or towering walls, but from passion and perseverance." Elon turned to Lila, his gaze filled with respect. "You deserve a place at Tesla. But what I want even more is to help you take Recycler to the next level. To help it change the world." The entire auditorium erupted in applause, and Lila felt her heart swell with happiness. She had done it, and everything had never seemed so clear. Lila wasn't a genius or someone with perfect conditions. She was just an ordinary person, but she had a strong belief in herself and never gave up. Her story reminds us that success doesn't come from avoiding failure, but from learning and getting back up every time we fall. It's not just about medals or degrees, but about the journey of perseverance, relentless effort, and the courage to follow our dreams, no matter what the world thinks. We can all create change, without needing luxurious laboratories or endless resources. Sometimes, the most important thing is passion and persistence. Remember, every challenge is an opportunity to grow, and every failure is a step forward on the path to success. Always believe in your abilities because nothing is impossible when you dare to dream and act.